If you're someone that's really kind of gone back and forth on whether or not to buy or rent, today's episode is going to show you the increase in prices and home prices across the state of Pennsylvania from 50 different towns. And the increase, pretty significant. Stay tuned. We'll talk about those cities next and why it's so important to own. Welcome into the Smart Mortgage Show. I am Ben George with Bill Litton. He is Regional President at Cross Country Mortgage. Glad to have you on the show today. And as I mentioned there in the open, we are going to be talking about the fastest rising home prices in different towns across Pennsylvania. 50 total towns we're going to draw from today. And I think it's very interesting because, well, you know, a lot of people often like to ask, hey, how much home can I afford? What can I afford? Where should I be looking? Today will kind of give you some of that, but I think it's pretty interesting just to kind of look through all these numbers, Bill, and kind of get a sense of how fast things have been growing around Pennsylvania over the last 5 years.
Yeah, this is a really interesting study, and the link to this information will be in the show notes. So please take a look and access this. Take a look at it. It's very interesting. But, you know, I got into the mortgage industry because I believed in the housing market in the United States. And it was easy for me to just watch, you know, how my parents had progressed from the first home we lived in to the second home to the third home. And I asked questions and realized that they were gaining equity and rolling it from one house to another. And basically this report, this study really just fortifies that thought process. It just backs it up. And, you know, I think what we've always said, there's always uncertainty. There's always a news headline that may think you might not want to buy a house, and there may be a reason why you don't want to buy a house. If you're thinking about moving out of town next year, or you're not going to own it for a long period of time, or there could be reasons. But the reasons that you hear in the news headlines, like there's going to be a value crash, or, you know, that's the big one that we hear all the time, or it's not affordable for one reason or another. This data absolutely contradicts that. This is real data. And I think if you take a look at it, it's very encouraging as to why home ownership is so important for a variety of reasons, but from an investment standpoint.
Yeah, we'll drop that link down into the show description for you so you can look at it for yourself and maybe find the town that you live in as well. And just to give you a little context, it is from the website called Stacker. I think they pulled data and did an analysis based on information they pulled from Zillow. So some easily found information that you're probably familiar with Zillow. And just to give you some context too, over the last year, I think the average home price was $360,000 in the country. And so the rise too as well over the last year is about 1.2%. So keep that in mind as you go through this, because when you look at it, Bill, Pennsylvania has had nice growth when you compare it to the average nationally.
Yeah, Pennsylvania, for a variety of reasons, has always been a really good investment from a real estate standpoint. And, you know, back to what we talk about a lot is just jobs have a lot to do with real estate values. And there's a lot of employment opportunity in the state of Pennsylvania. We have big cities at each side, in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, close to New York, DC, Baltimore. So it's, you know, known as the Rust Belt. So lots of strong employment, good incomes. That's a big factor in why these values in Pennsylvania increase at a little bit higher rate than the standard, and also maintain values when you see other, you know, right now Florida is seeing values dip. We're not seeing that here because it's a very different market in Pennsylvania, especially southeastern Pennsylvania, which, by the way, if you're out there right now looking to buy a house, if you're selling, all of this is awesome. If you're buying, this makes it more difficult because the seller has all the power right now. There are way more buyers than sellers. So although it's good news for the values, and at some point you're going to take part in those value increases, and you're going to get some of that appreciation, getting the home's not so much fun right now. So, but stay the course because these numbers are fantastic.
Yeah, Bill, some of those towns across the state have even seen double-digit increases in value over the past year. So we've seen some big growth. But when you look across all 50, and we haven't averaged this out for ourselves, but just by looking down the list, and you can do so if you want to check out that link, you're looking at about 40 to 60% growth over the last 5 years in just about every single town that's on this list. So some pretty significant growth. And you even see that there in the main line, which you're very familiar with.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I'm Delaware County and Chester County, Pennsylvania is where I do the bulk of the business that I do and help the most people in those areas. And the main line, which people that are, in the area, they know the main line. It's, Malvern, Bryn Mawr, Devon, Wynwood, all at the Wayne, Berwyn, all at the top of this list. And they're showing, exceptional increase over the past 5 years. Now, even if you skip past number 10, then you've got, other areas that we lend in a lot. Glen Mills, Garnet Valley, which is where I live. Garnet Valley showing roughly a 50% increase over the last 5 years. We've experienced that. We live there. These numbers are factual figures. So, I think that when you listen to the news headlines and it creates fear, people try to time the market. And, Warren Buffett is famous for saying that he cannot time the market. If he can't do it, we probably can't do it. If you look at buying a house as one share of stock, it's way more about time in the market. And anybody who's, we bought the house that we're in now, we bought it in 2015. So we've been there for 10 years now. And the last 5 years has been a 50% increase in value overall, even better than that. So I think the idea again is not everybody should buy a house, but for most people, if you're going to be in the area for a while, if you're going to be in the house for 2 years or more, buying makes a lot of sense. And there's another old saying, Ben, that says the best time to buy a house was a year ago, and the second best time is today. So we're bullish on buying real estate, and until there's any historical data, facts, figures in this area that tell us different, we're going to remain that way.
Yeah, I think, what's interesting, Bill, and you point this out, is that, look, if you are a seller, this is great news, right? You've seen a lot of increase on your investment. You're feeling good about where you stand selling it. But on the flip side of that, if you're a buyer, I know it can be frustrating. It can be a little demoralizing to kind of see these prices continue to creep up, maybe get out of your range. So for anyone that's in that market to buy a home and is getting close to that big purchase, but maybe feeling a little frustrated right now with where the market is because it's getting so high, what advice would you give, or what kind of guidance would you provide someone in that position, Bill?
Yeah, so we have real live examples. I have a client that in 2019, they want to be in a specific neighborhood. House was $550,000. They thought it was a little above their price range. They could have definitely made it happen, but I understand wanting to be fiscally responsible. So, but now the same house in the same neighborhood is roughly 900,000 in the 900s. So for that person, same house, same neighborhood, same condition, they're paying a heck of a lot more money now. The problem with waiting and trying to time the market is the market keeps running. It keeps increasing. So if you're waiting and you're hoping that values are going to fall, and that you're going to get some kind of a savings that way, there is no data that supports that that's going to happen. Now, anything can happen, right? So we could be wrong, but what I would say is the probability is low. And if you go back to all the way to the end of the Great Depression, there's only one period of time when values went down, and that was during the Great Recession. Other than that, and we don't have a Great Recession, even if we go into a recession, it's not driven by the housing market, which is what that recession was in 2008. So we've got, out of 60 years of data, we have 3 years with negative numbers. Probability says it's not going to feel great. And again, we don't want you to blow your budget out. We want to make sure you stay within budget, but it might not feel so great because you're buying at these higher numbers, but we think values continue to rise. We also think rates come down and you can refinance. So stay the course. And If your reason for waiting is timing the market, I do not think that's a good idea.
All right, so once again, that link will be in the description so you can check it out for yourself. Again, from Stacker. Interesting data on 50 towns across the state of Pennsylvania. So find yours, see what you've seen the increase there for wherever you live potentially, or maybe you have some family or friends. But just an interesting look at the overall growth and the importance it is to be an owner of a home and not just be a renter, because the value and the increase of your equity can be so significant over a short period of time potentially. So very interesting, but make sure you check that out. If you have questions about, hey, what kind of home can I afford? How do I begin this home buying process? What mortgage options are best for me? Maybe you just want to sit down and begin talking through some of the different areas you're looking at and kind of get Bill's thoughts on maybe the best fit for you potentially for a mortgage and a product that'll work for you and meet all your financial goals as well. You can do that by going to smartmortgageshow.com. Also, all that contact info will be in our show description as well. And if you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, please do that. We'd appreciate that support as well. I know we've had a number of new visitors to the channel. We appreciate your support. And Bill, as always, enjoyed going through this with you. Appreciate your insight, and we'll look forward to talking to you again next week.
Thank you so much.
This program is for informational purposes only. Please consult a qualified professional before taking any action. Bill Litton is a loan advisor and regional president with Cross Country Mortgage, NMLS number 147060.